And the head coach, Robert Saleh, and others out to California to meet with Rodgers, where, according to the reports that we have, Rodgers met them at the airport. The expectation was the Jets contingent would fly back last night. We don't have that confirmed one way or another. We are watching this about as keenly as you would imagine we'd be watching it. And Kmart, of course, is our primary watcher. Where do we stand right this moment?
Well, I can tell you the Jets are actually flying back today.
Today.
I have confirmed that.
So they spent the night at Rodgers' house.
Okay. I don't know where they slept, but if I were them, I would sleep on the front lawn. I would climb into the chimney. I would get in the man's house some way and not leave, because he's the ultimate prize, and I would not want to leave California without him.
Okay, what else, if anything, can you tell us?
The difficult thing with this is that, once again, what have you been saying all off-season and for the off-seasons that have preceded? This is Aaron Rodgers. Everything's on Aaron Rodgers' timeline. So the Jets, I mean, think about it. Nathaniel Hackett had a prior relationship, but the Jets contingent don't really know Aaron. So you have to get to know him. You got to get to know him and then say, hey, boss, we know life is great in Green Bay. However, you want to come to the Big Apple. You want to hang out with Greeny and Kmart. Like, this is where you want to be. Like, we've got ball players. We've got a young team. You got to convince him in a very short amount of time, because there was talk about him possibly retiring. So you have to, it really depends on where is Aaron's head. You would think after all those days in the dark, he would have come to some decision by now.
And I want to make sure it's clear to the audience. Obviously, the fans who pay the most attention to this are already aware of this. But this can only happen because the Packers have given Rodgers permission to be having these conversations. So what should we extrapolate from that?
Well, if you are willing, I mean, this is Baltimore also that you got to say this about, but if you're willing to let your man step out the door and talk to other people, there's a chance that maybe you don't really want him to be your man anymore. Maybe you're okay with seeing him be with somebody else. And that's the thing with Green Bay. Brian Gutekunst, the GM, said at the Combine, Jordan Love is ready to play. And this is a kid that they went up and drafted to get. So that seems to be, that's what they wanted to do a couple years ago, turn the page to Jordan Love. The page may about to be turned. Okay,
so just to give everyone a sense, I have done nothing but refresh Twitter every 30 seconds for the last 24 hours. So thank God I just have Kmart seated right here. So I'm just going to turn to you every 15 seconds, and you give me a little nothing yet. So we'll see. All right, Herman, as my mentor, as my
oh boy,
be his wise sage right now.
Coach him up.
First thing you said to me this morning was that the relationship with Nathaniel Hackett. Look, there was a moment in time when Nathaniel Hackett became the head coach of the Denver Broncos. We all thought that Rodgers would follow him there, and Rodgers had the ability to do it unencumbered by contract and didn't choose to do it then. But you think that's a significant piece of this?
Big piece of it. He has a really good relationship with Nathaniel. I know that for a fact. And so if you're Aaron Rodgers and you're deciding to go somewhere else, this would be the landing spot for him. And the fact that he understands who the play caller is. He understands that the play caller is going to put him in the position to be successful. Look, Aaron Rodgers, we can say what we want about him, but the one thing he will do when he walks between those lines, he likes to compete. He goes to New York. He understands the pressure that's about to be put on him by going to New York. He likes that. Remember, he was the MVP twice when they thought he was done. He likes this kind of scenario. He is playing this out as long as he can play it out, right? He's going to ride in on the white horse and say, here we go. That's what he wants to do. And I'm going to prove everybody wrong. That's what motivates this guy, right? When you're 39 years old, I mean, you're sitting there, you're a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
You have a chance now to go to New York and take a team that has been kind of sitting right there on the edge, maybe have a chance to win a division. But this is a hard conference, the AFC. There are 9 quarterbacks in the AFC. There's a gauntlet of guys you're going to have to go through. Aaron Rodgers likes that. He likes that. He wants to show, I'm the best quarterback in the AFC now, right?
And so we'll see if he makes that decision. Anything? No? We're good? Okay.
It's going to be a long day.
She was just checking. She was just looking up.
That's what I'm counting. Literally. Anything.
Hair triggered by Kmart. I love it.
Canty thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Herm said that Aaron Rodgers has the chance to ride in on the white horse and save the Jets. He had a chance to ride in on the white horse in Week 18 at home in Lambeau Field against the Detroit Lions. That didn't work out. Now, I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers doesn't give this team definitively a better chance of winning the division and competing for a championship, but we also have to level set expectations. We are talking about a quarterback going into his age 40 season, and we saw a little bit of regression last year as opposed to what we saw in 2020 and 2021 with the back-to-back MVP seasons. So I think you have to go into this with clear eyes if you're in the New York Jets, and you also have to go into this with some kind of assurance from Aaron Rodgers that it's going to be longer than just a one-year proposition, because there's a learning curve when it comes to competing for championships. It doesn't happen overnight, especially with a young core of players. So I think that's also something that you have to consider in all of this.
Here's what I will say to you, that I have neither of those things. I do not have clear eyes. And the other part of it is, look, I hear what you're saying, but Tom Brady went to Tampa and won in 1 year. Matthew Stafford went to L.A. and won in 1 year. Well, he's Matt Stafford. He's every bit as good as Stafford is and more. He's better than Stafford. And he's not Tom Brady only because no one is Tom Brady, but he's as close as it gets.
Okay, but Tom Brady was actually hosting passing camps at local high schools in the middle of a pandemic because it was important to him. With Matt Stafford, you're talking about a team that's core of players went to a Super Bowl in 2018 and lost by 10 to the Patriots. So it's not like this situation with the New York Jets where you got a lot of young players that have no idea what postseason football is all about. So that's where the difference comes in, and that's why it's going to have to be important for Aaron Rodgers to be around in the offseason to get those young guys up to speed and understand what they're getting themselves into.
What you saw last year is not a sign of things to come. I do believe that Aaron Rodgers will bounce back to his consistent level of play that we've seen for his entire career.
It's interesting, and Canty mentioned it, how the locker room right now is excited about him.
Yeah.
He's not there yet. Once he arrives, that will be the key for me. How does he get along with the guys in the locker room, right? How does that conversation?
They all seem very excited.
Yeah, but all excited right now, and until he pulls in the locker room.
Yeah.
And then there's a different. These guys have been in locker rooms.
Yeah.
She's been in locker rooms. You've been in there. It's just a different environment. And how does he handle all that? It'll be interesting. He didn't have, I don't think, a lot of guys he hung around with in Green Bay. He's going to a new team with a bunch of young guys. They're watching all this. Oh, we're excited about Aaron Rodgers. How does he handle all this?
Don't let Chris Canty talk you out of your enthusiasm.
No,
Don't let him
nothing
do it
could talk me out of my enthusiasm.
These facts, like he's just cold water. He's just a wet blanket. You know what? If you're a Jets fan, you have a chance to get Aaron Rodgers. You better be excited. You better be walking around like, okay, this could be our moment, because you haven't seen anything this great in a long time.
I do wonder about culture, though. I really do. And I've been on teams where, especially my third year in the NFL, we were, year one, we're 8-8. Year two, we're 5-11. Bringing a new coaching staff, Bruce Arians. Bringing a new quarterback, Carson Palmer. And what Carson did every morning, he was the first one in. I mean, he'd be there before the trainers, before the coaches doing rehab. He'd be mentoring young receivers. John Smoke Brown had a breakout year. He'd be mentoring guys, having conversations. And all of a sudden, the morale of our team changed from a losing team to a team that believed we could win, not only because of Carson Palmer's talent, yes, he stayed healthy, et cetera, but because of the culture. Carson built this belief in us. He was there all the time. And no, it's not mandatory to be in organized team activities. Those are voluntary. But I will say this, there are players who say, man, I want to learn from you. I want to be around you. I want to spend time with you. And then there are players who say, hey, come learn, come spend time. And there are players who don't. And that's the difference.
He makes a great point, and I will say this. When I was an assistant coach in Kansas City, and when we brought in Joe Montana, the dynamics of the locker room changed with Joe Montana. We had a great team. We were in the playoffs every year. But when Joe Montana showed up in that locker room, we went, whoa. And he started talking. I always told the players, you guys are stars. The celebrity is about to show up. And it was Joe Montana. And we would have got to the Super Bowl. He gets knocked out in Buffalo. Yeah. But the whole dynamics of the locker room changed because of his personality.
But you have to be there.
You got to be there.
You have to be there, and that's the difference.
Final word on this. Go quick.
Well, just the perception of what the Jets are and the expectations are going to change, too. So how do young players handle that going into 2023? Because there's going to be a lot of hype around Aaron Rodgers in the Jets if he does decide to bestow his good graces on Florida Park. How do those young players handle that type of dynamic?
Well, they're going to have to worry about that for themselves. I'm meanwhile trying to handle this myself. A lot of people seem to react to this yesterday, so Allie wanted to put it up. Stace posted a text exchange that she and I had yesterday. She wanted to have dinner last night. I said I couldn't because the Rodgers stuff is too much. And she is now, P.S., making me go to this play this afternoon. We have theater tickets for matinee this afternoon at 2 o'clock, and I told her I cannot go. And she said, why? Are you literally just going to sit there and refresh Twitter every 30 seconds? And I said, yes. And she said, how long will that go on? And I said, indefinitely. And as a consequence of that, we're now going to this place. So I need something by 2 o'clock.
Thanks, Stacey. I have a lot of work to do between now and 2.
By 2 o'clock
Yes.
this afternoon. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.